Hey, whoa, hey, what's up? It's Dominic D'Angelo. It is Rumor and Innuendo. I'm of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and Brass Ring Media. I'm flying solo currently. I have to send our potential special guest a link because I forgot to do that. Best producer in the biz. But we are live here on Thursday, and going to talk a little Fighter Fest. Little Fighter Fest going down. 4 hours of pro wrestling last night. I will be forthright. I only watched Dynamite. I did not watch Collision. So there's some aspects I'm missing out, but I did catch a little glimpse of Thekla. I hope I'm saying it right. But man, there's some star potential there. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, let's say hi to some folks in the chat here. Real quick, lad. We got Triple E saying few of the matches went long on Fighter Fest. And is there a daily hotline episode today? There will be. Yes, there will be. I got to make one up for yesterday as well. So stay tuned. Triple E. Dre Owen says, apparently I couldn't watch Collision portion of Fighter Fest this morning on Max. Hello, R&I. Yeah, that was my issue too. Because I did. I watched Dynamite and I did not see Collision on there. Very strange. So I cannot give you a forthright assessment on Collision, but I can give you my opinions on Dynamite. Cami Star says, hey, thanks for joining, Cami. And yeah, Wrestling Old Head chimes in, running in late. How's it going, Dom and chat? What's happening in there, Wrestling Old Head? Good to see all the regulars in here. And if you're new, welcome to the show. Usually it's me and former WWE writer Robert Karpelis. But Robert Karpelis is on assignment this week, so you've been stuck with me. Kevin Kelly made a special appearance yesterday, and hopefully maybe we'll get him today. I sent him a link quite late, so if he chimes in, he chimes in. But let's chime in about this Fighter Fest happening. Was led off by Will Ospreay, and he had a confrontation, and basically called out Swerve, saying that how big of an issue he's been, and kind of things like that, and set up a match next week with Swerve in Portland. So kind of near Swerve's backyard in certain ways. Swerve being from the state of Washington. But before that, though, we had Leo Rush issue a challenge to Ospreay. And at first I'm just like, okay, because like the music was playing and the announcers acted like they didn't know who it was, and I'm like, I don't know who this is. Is this a surprise? Is this like a reveal, a debut, if you will? And so a little bit of a letdown when it's Leo Rush in Action Andretti, but you gotta wait for things to develop a little bit, and it set up a match for Leo Rush and Will Ospreay at Collision, and I thought that was a fine way to do it. So all right with that. Trey Owen says Scott Chaplan should have tagged in for Robert. Yeah, man, Scott was very active in the chat yesterday, and love his opinions on AEW, and he's all about some of the type of wrestling that AEW has to offer, and so I love the differing opinions. I'm more of the storytelling type of things, and while WWE is been kind of hit or miss since this WrestleMania. I think mostly, if I were to kind of look from after WrestleMania, how the storytelling has been in WWE, give it maybe like a B minus, and I think AEW has been improving in that department. So I would maybe give AEW like a, they're still dealing with the albatross that is the Death Riders, but I would give them probably like a C plus. So they're closing the gap in on WWE. I think as far as storytelling aspect kind of goes sometimes, I think overall WWE is a tighter product. Like maybe I'd kick WWE up to a B simply because everything can make sense. You can make sense of most things. Gunther is my big exception right now. The Gunther storyline is my big exception. But if you go from a segment to segment basis, I'm specifically talking Raw, I guess, for the most part, because I don't like watch all of SmackDown. So I guess I'm just taking my litmus test from Raw Monday night. And I think what they do there is pretty overall a rock solid kind of segment by segment, tie in everything together, making things make sense kind of deal. AEW is getting better, but it can get a lot better too at the same time. What do I think about? This was not just the only interview moment they had with Ospreay on Dynamite, because he came back in a backstage segment and MJF got involved, which I like. I like a lot. I think you want Ospreay and MJF to interact, and I think having the Hurt Syndicate kind of be a part of the program in several ways was a good idea, because I think they're a top act, and MJF is one of your top stars. And say what you will, like, you can tell this crowd was a crowd that knew was an invested crowd, like an ardent fan. If you want to get hurtful, you can say neckbeards were in the house, because I think they like people were. I made note of this when it was Los Ingobernables taking on oh my god, what's the other team that they're fighting? Oh, taking on Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Commander. They were like dueling chants with Roosh. And if you're dueling chants with Roosh, no offense to Roosh whatsoever, but you're an ardent fan. This is like fans that know a little too much sometimes. So I think it's so how Dynamite started off, I thought was okay. Seemed kind of repetitive in certain ways. It seems like Ospreay's been leading off the show quite a bit. Not that there's certain things wrong with that. I think, but it does. It's just I just made mental note of that kind of happening. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. So take that for what you will. My gosh. Okay, so I sent Kev the link, but I think I exited. Yes, I did. I exited out of my results thing. Okay, so then we had Jon Moxley taking on Mark Briscoe. So what I was really skeptical. I was optimistic. I was surprised that this was the opening match for the whole show, because I was like, okay, this is a match I want to watch. And I do like it. The announcers made note that, and Mark Briscoe made note that he did not like passing out like with Briscoe. So I thought this was good stuff in certain ways. So let's see here, even non-title, but I'm just reading Bleacher Report's thing. So there was some interference going on here. Mark Briscoe, AEW World Chicago, Briscoe with the Bulldog choke, causing him to pass out. Yeah, so not a big fan of Mark Briscoe losing. That's not cool. Am I right on that? So I caught the match, but I did not catch the finish. Somebody help me out here. What the heck's going on here? Let me see here. I gotta take my results from a different page. AEW Dynamite results, because I was watching this morning and I skipped ahead to break the commercials, and like my HBO app was not lining up, so I skipped over. Okay, so Moxley did win with the rear naked choke crap. Look, I just don't like this. I know Briscoe is more Teflon than a lot of other people, but like I said, I think you want to do something different. If you're AEW, you position Mark Briscoe in a high thing. I'm sick of this Moxley Death Rider crap. It's awful. It is just awful. I don't get it. I don't get it. Here, Wrestling Old Head chimes in. Both companies struggle with multiple storyline continuity, but WWE is doing much better. Recently, they started to slide. I agree. AEW is doing better as well, but they aren't doing as many storylines. Correct. All roads lead to Ospreay. He set himself up for a ton of potential matchups for All In. Sure does. It creates a little intrigue in that regard. I will say that. Wrestling Old Head says, I would love for Briscoe to have AEW World Title run, but I just don't think he's seen as someone who could be on that level. It's a shame. Yeah, I mean, do something different. Do something different. I think if you were to, you could have. I understand the story of Hangman Page, but are they really doing anything? Like, okay, I didn't see Hangman Page talk last night because he was on Collision. So I don't know what he had to say about this. And it did not, unfortunately, did not continue the story. For me, at least. I'm like, if you're not tuned into the 4-hour wrestling show that you got going on, you're going to miss out on the aspect of one of their top stars talking for a program that's supposed to, their biggest program that they would argue to date. It means a lot. It's going to be I think it's their biggest venue that they're playing to in the United States at this juncture. I believe I'm not wrong on that. So I don't know. I think I understand Hangman being in that mix, but I mean, could you imagine though if Briscoe was the one to beat Moxley? It would create a fun kind of dynamic, I think, that people wouldn't expect. An underdog story in certain ways, and it's just a different element to the play. So I don't like them making them lose. Come on. Like that is another issue with AEW. It's like really telegraphing what's going to happen in certain ways. It's, you want to shake things up a little bit and create a little bit of surprise and intrigue of what could be to come next time up. So not a fan of Mark Briscoe losing. Timeless Toni Storm, man, is she over. Holy smokes. She tags up with Mina Sherikawa, taking on Julia Hart and Sky Blue. So Mercedes Moné was at ringside. She wanted to get her own table, and she got her own table. She was going to call commentary from where she was at. She had a steak in front of her, but her headset didn't work. So they said that pretty quick once they figured it out that, hey, we're having technical issues with that. This is what I would have done. Not that it's a huge deal, but I would have been like, oh, Mercedes made the decision that she doesn't want to talk to anybody. And there you go. It takes away the element of, okay, we're having technical problems. And it makes Mercedes seem like the heel that she is. So Storm and Mina defeat Sky Blue and Julia Hart by pinfall. Don't necessarily think it's so great. I mean, again, value in Julia Hart. I thought, at some point you want to have value in Sky Blue, but Julia Hart, you've been positioning like with a unique persona. That's, I'm not going to say rivals Toni Storm because I think Toni Storm's just on a completely different level, but you're creating a character that was really catching some fire with Julia Hart, and so she's fodder. She's fodder right now. I don't like it that much. Again, you're just setting up some of your talent. You're positioning your talent not in a favorable way. MJF challenges Mystico, which was interesting. Didn't expect that to happen, but should be a fun matchup in Mexico that they're teasing. But then we had that match I mentioned earlier. Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight and Commander taking on LFI. Listen, something I did make note of was that Kevin Knight can talk a little bit. From the little bit I saw, he can talk, and he's got a good voice. So yeah, I think it's a cool thing. Look, I'm also going to say this is some other stuff I have. This is the match that I took the most from this week. Good and bad. Okay, so good, Kevin Knight. Definitely cool. Makes sense why Toni Storm has been pushing him. He's got something there. The handling of Roosh, you got to do him better. They got to do him a little bit more justice here. This guy, even if you got the neckbeards, dual enchant, and everything like that, the guy's got something too. And it's a shame that we haven't seen this much of him at all. It's crazy. It's crazy to think we haven't seen that much of him. He's got charisma. This is the same I feel about Santos Escobar. Is like Santos Escobar has this machismo. Oh, there it is. Machismo about them. And I think you need to let the pigeons loose, as Taz used to say. I think with Roosh, it's an obvious thing. This is a guy that should be getting more TV time and getting a really, really good run. All right, my third point on this match. Beast Mortos. Not doing him any favors whatsoever. Again, big time. He's like the luchador Lance Archer right now, and both guys just keep getting done a disservice. And this is giving me some thought about if I'm Beast Mortos, I would be making a case for, hey, let's switch me up. And then maybe he's got the loyalty of like the luchador thing with the mask and keeping his identity hidden, but I don't know. At this juncture, I'd be like, let's take that baby off. He's a good looking guy from what I've heard, and repackage him, because you are not doing this guy any favors. It's a darn shame. Like like in a alternate universe, I could afford seeing Beast Mortos as the TNT champion, a dominant TNT champion, just like running roughshod through everybody, like almost in like that Miro role that we wanted to. Like the fact that they're just using him as pin fodder is it's just ludicrous. I don't like it. LFI seems like a really fun faction too, and it's a shame that they're not making the most of them. You had freaking Jake Roberts be the guy that acquired them from Don Callis, and we don't see Jake Roberts. It would be such a fun dynamic to have Jake Roberts with LFI, but nothing. So I took a lot away from this match. Like I said, good and bad. So, and I guess another bad aspect of this was the after match segment was we had Bailey and Knight in the ring, and then Hurt Syndicate come out, and like MVP makes it like official. Hey, next week we're gonna trios match, but we're gonna handle you right now. So instead of MJF, Shelton, and Bobby coming in and beating down, where I don't know what happened to Commander. He wasn't there, right? And like, so we had Knight and Bailey in the ring. They fend off Shelton and Bobby, and then MJF comes in by himself, gets drop kicked and gets nailed out of the ring, and then the heels go for a powder. It made no sense from a logistics standpoint. Like 0 sense. Very confusing. Didn't like it. I don't know. So carrying on. We had Max Caster and Powerhouse Hobbs. Okay, yeah. I mean, I love the highlight of Hobbs. Caster is fine in his role. I think it's just a matter to get Hobbs over. And the funny thing is, they're chanting meat when Hobbs is, and it made me think about that time. I think it was Hobbs and Wardlow. Am I right? That the meat chants were breaking out big time, and so like. Good that they're giving Hobbs his time. Hopefully they're gonna make some more of it here. But it's a very quick match. I think it was like 49 seconds. I think that's how long the match lasted. But hey, you know what might last, and you know what makes wrestling last for me is one of our new sponsors this week, and it's a sponsor I'm very excited for, because I am a man who likes to wager a few things, if you will, on sports particularly. But the fun thing is you can do this with pro wrestling. If you really think you yourself a student of the game and you think you can kind of read between the lines, those betting lines, perhaps you're willing to take the jump and try out my bookie. Yeah, my bookie. So, look, I love gambling, responsibly, of course. But NBA playoffs, I dabbled a little bit into that. I did a little bit of MLB, but my wheelhouse is NFL. I love betting during the NFL season and everything like that. But it's pretty darn cool that if you're a wrestling fan, you can get the opportunity to bet on pro wrestling. And obviously, Money in the Bank is coming up. So lots of good stuff coming in with Money in the Bank and what you can kind of do there. Right now, Rollins is the favorite in the men's ladder match. Obviously, LA Knight is there in the mix of it all. Roxanne Perez is one of the favorites she leads the odds for the women's version of thing. Heck, if I were a betting man, I'd maybe lay a little bit of money down on Stephanie McCool if you were to do it. Like, why not? She qualified. She's got that star potential. Maybe they're going to strap a rocket to her. And, no better way to do that if she walks away with the money in the bank just like that. I don't know. I would maybe, if I'm going to look into doing a little bit of this and see what the odds are for Vakor. And if it is, I might try it out. I don't know. But if you've been following the build up, you already have the edge. My bookies, where that insight pays off. So go to my bookie and use our promo code Rumor and boost your bankroll with the sportsbook bonus on your first deposit. Extra cash, just looking to lock in with our code. Deposit 100, get $50. Go with 200, and they'll make it 100. Say it's WWE, UFC, cash in when it counts, only at my bookie. So check it out, guys. Pretty fun thing we got going on this weekend with that. So if you're intrigued to take your hand at pro wrestling and see what it's like, WWE, yeah, good thing to do on that one. So try it out. All right. Carrying on, we had the main event. Went as expected, I think. Kenny Omega taking on Brody King, taking on Claudio Castagnoli, and Del Mascara Dorada. Which, wow, very impressive talent. Is Mascara Dorada. He did some pretty unique stuff in there. But this was a fun match. I don't think there's any way that you can shake a stick and say it wasn't a fun match. I liked this a lot. It was cool. Kenny gets the win, and rightfully so. And we're getting Okada versus Kenny at All In, and hopefully they merge those freaking titles together, and they can tell a fun story. I want to see Okada elevated it in this build here. I want to see more from him and see what happens. So hopefully that they do that. All right. So, like I said, I did not watch Collision. It was not available on my Max app, but I did catch the entrance of Thekla, and immediate takeaways is she's a star. Like, yeah, you're missing out on Mariah May leaving, but she packs a different type of punch that Mariah May had something else. Thekla gives you some like intensity and something to really sink your teeth into. Something different, obviously, from Toni Storm. She's got that baby face, badass kind of identity that Thunder Rosa brings too, I think. But I think you're getting a different vibe here with Thekla. I think, it's cool to see her. It's refreshing, I think, especially after Mariah May just made her NXT debut, to have Thekla show up here. I keep wanting to say Thekla. To have Thekla show up here and pack that good of a punch, I think is good stuff. If I'm being critical here, I would have had her debut on Dynamite, just so for more eyes were on there. Because, like I said, I couldn't watch Collision. I had to go and seek out some of this stuff. So, I think AEW's got to ride with it. They got to embrace her, learn from Mariah May leaving, and keep Thekla, build her up. You have center Toni Storm, Willow Nightingale, Thunder Rosa. She's Megan Bayne. Look, plenty of stars. Get them cooking. Make them your focus of the women's division. But they need to have a heavier focus, I think. I think you want to do some different things. You want to do things differently than what WWE is doing. Just really, really get into that women's division. Packages. Mina Sherikawa, she's there and she definitely has charisma. What I kept thinking about, she's been on my radar more and more a little bit. But if I'm just a fan tuning in, I have no idea who Mina Sherikawa is. I don't have any idea about the personality she has or anything like that. And she's got a good one. So find that balance here. It's attention to detail. It's key. So DGS agrees with what I just said. Thekla is more of a vicious side, which is something that the women's division needs. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. There's a different kind of thing going on with that. it's important. It's very important to do. So people are chiming in about who could win the women's Money in the Bank. Naomi should win Money in the Bank, says Dre Owens. Start a female bloodline. Yeah, I mean, I could see Naomi winning. I just think you have so many stars there right now that, like, I think it would be extremely cool on W's part and kind of somewhat surprising and refreshing if you had a Julia or a Stephanie Vakor win this thing. I don't know, but I think I would maybe put or a Roxanne Perez. The women's Money in the Bank. Just seeing the lineup, hearing the lineup makes it's an intriguing match. It's an intriguing match. All right. Mina should come out with backup dancers. I like that. Yeah, give her a different kind of presentation than everybody else. You know, oh my God, you have Harley Cameron, and she's going to be on the shelf for a little bit. Tay Mello just came back. That's cool. She's awesome. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff you can do with the women's division. I don't know, stuff to think about. All right, I guess that'll do it for me today. Tonight on tap, me and RVD. We're gonna go live 9:15 p.m. That is the plan. So be on the lookout for the link for that. But you can go to rvdtv.com. Get ready, tune in, join me and Rob live. We probably have a special guest, and if it is the special guest that we have planned, man, this is like a merger of my all-time ECW favorites here. So be on the lookout for that. That's tonight, likely at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm sure Robert at some point will record a Working Stiff episode with Scott Chaplan, and there will be a new one out of that. But if you haven't yet, tune into the latest one. It was Robert and Mike Lawrence covering Dark Side of the Ring this season, and giving thoughts on Muhammad Hassan, the passing of comic book legend Peter David, and more. So be on the lookout for that. That is up right now. So yeah, check it out. Again, if you would like, try it out. My bookie. Go bonus on your first deposit. Go to mybookie.web. Oh, geez, that's just the copy. But go to mybookie, download it, the app, I believe. Go to the website and use promo code Rumor and use that. Support the show if you want to do some betting on some wrestling. So, but yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, maybe with a guest, maybe just by myself again. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know even. So I'll see you next time. Best of luck in your future endeavors. And geez, don't be a toxic spider unless you're Thekla.